Okay, so on the coast of Odisha in India, there's this monument that is just mind-blowing. It's a massive stone chariot built for Surya, the sun god. We're talking about the Konark Sun Temple, a masterpiece from the 13th century that tells this incredible story of genius, devotion, and, well, a pretty deep mystery.
You know, for hundreds of years, this temple was so much more than a place to pray. Picture it. You're a sailor on the Bay of Bengal. This towering structure, built from this dark stone called condylite, was your landmark. It was a giant, dark beacon on the horizon. That's why they called it the Black Pagoda, which helped them tell it apart from the bright, whitewashed Jagannath Temple in nearby Puri, which they called the White Pagoda.
And that really gets us to the heart of the mystery here. The main tower, the part that used to soar over 200 feet into the air, it's just gone. What we have left are these absolutely spectacular ruins. So what on earth happened to this architectural wonder? To figure that out, we've got to go back to the very beginning.
So let's jump back in time to the 13th century. This was an era of huge power and incredible artistic ambition in eastern India. And we're going to see exactly how this vision came to life. All right, so the guy who made this all happen was King Narasimhadeva I from the super powerful Eastern Ganga dynasty. This was around 1250 CE. He wanted to build this monumental tribute to Surya, the Hindu sun god, and he didn't hold back. This temple is basically the high point of the regional Kalinga style of architecture, which is famous for these soaring, almost beehive-shaped towers and carvings everywhere. This wasn't just another building. It was a massive statement of power and faith. The whole concept is just pure poetry. Get this. The entire temple was designed to be the sun god's gigantic chariot. Can you just imagine standing there at dawn? You'd watch the temple literally look like it was rising out of the waves, pulling the sun across the sky. I mean, it's a cosmic idea brought to life in solid stone. And the scale was just as epic as the vision. That main tower that's now gone, it's estimated it stood a staggering 229 feet tall. To put that in perspective, that's like a modern 22-story building, just dominating the entire coastline. And at its base, holding up this immense chariot, are 24 gigantic stone wheels. Every single one is a masterpiece. And each of these wheels is nearly 12 feet in diameter. But here's the kicker. They're not just for show. They are fully functional sundials. You can actually tell the time with incredible accuracy just by looking at the shadows their spokes cast. How cool is that? So, what's pulling this whole celestial vehicle? A team of 7 powerful, incredibly lifelike stone horses. Their muscles all tensed, like they're about to drag the sun right into the sky. You know, absolutely nothing here is an accident. Every little piece is packed with meaning. Those 12 pairs of wheels, they represent the 12 months of the year. And the 7 horses? Well, they're often seen as the 7 days of the week. The whole temple is like a clock, a calendar, and a map of the universe all rolled into one. It's this brilliant mix of science, art, and religion.
But the real genius of Konark isn't just its massive size. It's also in the unbelievable detail that covers pretty much every single inch of it, telling all these stories carved right into the stone.
Seriously, these walls are like a library of life in the 13th century. You'll find everything. There are these huge processions of elephants and armies marching off to war. You'll see musicians totally lost in their music. But then you also see these really intimate scenes of everyday life, people cooking, travelers taking a break. And yes, right alongside gods like Durga and Vishnu, you've got the famous and very intricate erotic sculptures, which are all about celebrating life in all its different forms. The Nobel laureate Rabindranath Tagore just nailed it when he said, "Here the language of stone surpasses the language of human." It really does feel like the stone itself is talking to you, telling these stories that words just can't quite capture. The artistry is just on a whole other level.
Which of course brings us right back to that big mystery. Why did this masterpiece, this place that was so brilliantly built and so important, fall into ruin? Well, the answer, it's not simple at all.
Okay, so there are a bunch of different theories floating around. And it's fascinating because there's evidence for and against most of them. Some people think it was just natural causes. The stone it's made from, condylite, weathers pretty easily, so a big storm, a lightning strike, or an earthquake could have been devastating. Others point to historical accounts of deliberate destruction, especially by a general named Kalapahad around 1568, But then, to make things complicated, you have texts from the 16th century that describe the temple as a busy, active place of worship with no mention of it being a ruin. So the truth is probably some combination of all of these things happening over a long time.
So, what do we know for sure? We know the main tower finally came down in 1837. And by the early 1900s, the assembly hall that was still standing was in really bad shape. So British archaeologists made this drastic call. In 1903, they sealed it up completely and filled the entire thing with sand to stop it from collapsing too.
But the story doesn't end with a ruin. Nope. The fall of Konark is really followed by this long, slow story of rediscovery and preservation, one that has turned it into a true global icon. Trying to save Konark has been a marathon, not a sprint. The first calls to try and conserve it came way back in 1803. It was finally named a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1984. And just recently, in 2022, this huge project started to carefully remove all that century-old sand from inside the assembly hall. It's a super delicate operation that's trying to finally restore its interior.
And today, the images from Konark are just woven into the fabric of modern India. That powerful warrior and horse statue, it's the official state emblem of Odisha. And hey, if you pull a 10 rupee note out of your wallet, take a look at the back. You'll see one of Konark's incredible wheels, a little daily reminder of this amazing cultural treasure.
So, the story of Konark is still being written, which is so exciting. The work to preserve it is also an act of discovery. As engineers and archaeologists go back inside the sealed heart of this temple for the first time in over 100 years, you just have to wonder, right? What long-lost secrets, what hidden carvings or inscriptions are waiting inside, maybe ready to finally solve the last mysteries of the Black Pagoda?